Alright, welcome back to another video. I found these awesome social media posts on the NHL Instagram and I thought to myself, let's try and make those in Figma with auto layout. Alright, what's up guys? So today we're going to redesign this first page, the 3 stars of the week. You can see it's got some cool design elements. The players are kind of popping out of the frames. It's a style we see these days more and more. We got some background blur with the crowd, logos on the bottom here. We got some cool fabric or mesh patterns in the background. You can see at the bottom too, tying it all together. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so we've got a length 1000 by 1000 square aspect ratio, so I'm going to come up here, click on our frame, make that 1000 by 1000. And I'm going to design over top of the first one here just to get things going. Okay, first of all, we're going to need some assets. I pulled those in. I'm going to bring this over just so we can make a list of this, but there's quite a few assets that we need in this image. We're going to need the NHL logo. We're going to need an icon for this star here. We're going to need the images of these players, the logos for the teams, and then we've got some custom face-off dot icons in the corner here, again with the NHL logo. And then other than that, I think that's it. So I just made a quick list of the assets that we're going to need. Just make sure we've got them all here. So I'm just going to go through these assets, make sure I've got all of them before we start. So do we have the NHL logo? Yes, we do. All 3 player photos? Yes. Star icon? Yes, there it is. Team logos? Yes. Face-off dot icon. I just quickly made that in Figma. I obviously couldn't find that anywhere else. Mesh pattern, so I got a basic mesh pattern here. And the hex codes for the team colors, got those. So now that we've got those, let's just jump right into the design. Alright, start with bringing in this NHL icon. I'm just cropping it. If you hold down Option and grab the sides, you can quickly crop images in Figma, which is cool. Super easy and intuitive to do. And we're just going to bring that down a bit, bring it in here, resize it so that it's pretty much bang on there. And then we've got the 3 stars of the week. I don't know exactly what this font is, but I found one that's close enough. So I'll spare you the pain of watching me go through hundreds of different fonts to try and figure that out. And I also figured out a font that's close enough for this other one. So we've got that. There we go. So I'm using Enter for that font, and then this one's just some random font called Anton. It doesn't have any other variations or thicknesses, bold, italic. Not great, but it's close enough. Okay, so we're going to grab these 2, Shift A for auto layout. I'm going to make auto layout out of this one too. And then I'm going to auto layout both of those. As you can see, that's pretty good. Okay, now we're going to move on to the player components. So I'm just going to use Enter for this again, just to keep it simple. It's obviously not the exact font that they're using, but close enough. Match. We're not going for complete perfection here. We're just going for as close as we can get it. Make it look good. Make that into an auto layout. Okay, we're going to grab our star, and I'm copying and dragging by holding down Alt. Okay, next thing we need is the star. And if you don't know how to copy and paste something, you can just hold down Alt and click on the frame, and you can copy and paste it. A good resizing trick is all you do is hit letter K, and then it gets this scale out, and then you just drag a corner, and you can scale the size of things without having them pixelate. Just to do it as an example, sometimes if you have font and you want to resize it, you can't do it, right? But if you hit K and scale, very nice. Now we can resize it to whatever we want. Hit exit, escape, and then you're back. So just a cool little trick. Bring our star in here. Okay, okay. Cool. And we're going to Shift A, auto layout that. And then connect these two together, auto layout that. Make the fill all of it. And then bring in some padding. Cool. Actually, we're going to use padding. Just bring that out there. That looks pretty much bang on, and then seven. Cool. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Okay. Make this spacing between these two components is 79, but we want them to space all the way and touch the edges, so we make that into auto. And then we just want to give this, whoops. Okay. Perfect. That looks good. And we want to now give this a stroke. Maybe make it 2. Make it white. And then bring up the border radius. That looks pretty much exactly what they used. Alright, and now we've got that. That's pretty much done. Give it a fill. Make it black. Get this color. And now we can just copy and paste this component over. So that there, this is Austin. Spell it properly. Matthews. This is Connor McDavid. And I'm actually going to make the direction of this horizontal. And we're going to duplicate the stars, make them horizontal. And by duplicating, I'm just clicking on the star and holding Command, clicking D. Change the direction because it's horizontal right now, and the reason we got that is because we made this vertical fill into fill container, vertical resizing, sorry. So we're going to change the horizontal, the layout to horizontal layout. There we go. And you can see, other than the font being a bit different, we're pretty much bang on. So that's looking good there. Alright, now we just need to, just going to steal this font here, and we're just going to Try and match this as best as we can. Looks like we need to increase. Yeah, there we go. Just need to increase the letter spacing a little bit. And now we're just going to copy paste that over. 3, 7, 10. And oops, 1, 10, 11, 4 games played. And that's good enough for me. Just gonna group that, not gonna use auto layout for that. You could. We could. So why don't we just make auto layout there? Auto layout. Auto layout. And then select them all. Auto layout. Make this fill container. This as well. Fill container. Let's make this auto. Make these all okay. So what we want to do is match the we want to match each of these column widths to the same width as this, so 281. Let's just make this width is 281. Width 281. And the same for this one. And then we want to just decrease the padding to line up. And hopefully one works for all of them. One. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. And maybe make this fill container as well. Cool. So we got that. Now let's move on to these components. These are going to be interesting and a little difficult to do, but we'll figure it out. I'm not exactly sure the quote-unquote right way to do these, but we're gonna maybe do it a little bit of a hacky way, but that's fine. We're just figuring it out as we go. Okay, so what we need to do, we're gonna start with these bottom components. I'm gonna bring our logos over. I'm gonna bring our colors down here. And if you were working for NHL as a designer, you'd probably want to import all these assets into your assets folder or library, create a design system so that you're not having to move these colors around all the time. You'd save them as a color. Edmonton orange. And then anytime you want to use that orange, you just come over here, open your library, and there's your orange. If you want to know more about design systems, let me know in the comments and we can do some stuff on that. Anyways, back to our component here. So we're just gonna make an auto layout out of that and resize it. I'm just gonna pull it in here so that we can resize it over top. It's probably gonna be a 281 width because that's what our other component's width was. And then just pull this in, match it up. There we go, that looks pretty good. Alright. I want to give it a fill. And I think this is a different red than their actual red from from their logo, but we're going to try and just build a, it looks like there's a little gradient as well, so we're going to try a little gradient on it. And we're just going to use the eyedropper and see if we can get it as close as we can. Alright. And then we need to get this mesh. This is the tricky part. It's hard to get a pattern behind an auto layout component. And you can do absolute positioning. And that's what we might have to do. But let's just see how this goes. And obviously this it's because the actual mesh looks like it's bigger openings than what we had it, so I just made it a little bigger there. Okay. I'm just gonna make this into a I'm gonna frame this so that we can make it sized a little different, and we can clip content. You can't clip content with when things aren't in a frame, which is kind of annoying. This is our mesh pattern. Player. I'm not the greatest at naming conventions, so don't judge me too hard. Okay. Okay, click this button to make absolute position so that it doesn't get all funky on us, and we can try to get this. Looks okay. We need to clip content on that. And then we need to bring the opacity down on our mesh. How's 10% look? Looks alright. Now the other thing we can do is just rotate that so that it's oriented the same way as the mesh is going on this one. Bring that up a little bit. Cool. So, I mean, that's pretty much as good as we're going to get, I think, for now. Looks pretty good to me. And then we need to make this above this upper part. I just needed to find a picture of fans in the stands so that we can do this background effect where it looks a little blurred out, like there's a crowd behind them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this into 281 width. 281 width. I'm just going to bring this down. Match that up. Make sure that they're centered with each other. And then I'm just going to bring this, bring this up around there. And then I'm just going to fit this in there and move it to crop. Whoops. And just get a sort of a piece of the crowd there. Enter, okay, and now we've got that. And then we want to duplicate this, make it into a solid color. What we want to do is put this on top of that other one, give it an effect of background blur, bring down the opacity a little bit, and then we want to make that blurry, probably bring this down a bunch more. And we can play around with the blur amount. Right now it's at 24. That looks pretty good. So we're going to bring that down. Whoops. I'm going to group these. Control G, group them. And then put these together. And then got them together. And then we're going to Control G, auto layout. Put a stroke on there. Make it 2 probably. Make it white. Perfect. And then we want to give it a border radius. 20. That looks pretty good. Whoops. Make that a gotta remove our stroke here and here. Okay, so what we've done is we've made this into a auto layout component. We've got our top piece and our bottom piece. We've selected clip content. We're going to give it a stroke. Put that at 2. We also want to give this a stroke. Make that 2. Auto layout. Just want to make this a little bit smaller. Okay, that's lined up. That's lined up. And that's lined up. Okay, cool. So we got it all figured out. And now this last part. As you can see, I'm just moving through this, trying to figure out as well. I'm not I don't know. I've never done this exact design, so it's just fun to try and figure these things out together. Maybe you know better ways to do it. And if you do, please let me know in the comments. That'd be awesome to hear and learn new techniques. And so for this part, I can't just bring it in to this component because it's not going to be able to come outside of the, even if I make it absolute position, I'm not going to be able to make it come out because in order to have our border, we need to have this component clipping content, and if you have clip content, then nothing can stick out of the frame, and that's what the effect we want is. So we're just gonna have to make this sit on top and just group them together. So I'm just nudging that down with our mouse. Boom. Snaps in there. And that looks good. And so I'm just going to select these both and group them. And there you go. So we're just going to duplicate this twice. And we're just going to redo this for our other players and the other teams. And I'm going to select these three together, auto layout, and then I'm going to paste them down into there. Control X, Control V. Auto layout those together, same thing. Cut them, paste them in. And when you do, if you take something from a frame, put it in another frame of the same aspect ratio, same sizing, it's going to paste it exactly in the same positioning that you took it from, which is kind of cool. Cool, so you can kind of see, like, we're getting there. Looks pretty good. Just need to figure out these colors for the logos, so come down here and mess around with this for a bit. Okay, we found our color. This is the top of it. I'm just gonna steal it the lazy way. Color from there. Take the color from there. Alright, that looks pretty good. It's funny because the mesh shows up a lot more on the blue, and it's just the way it is, I guess. And a very similar blue to the Leafs, which I didn't pick, so just gonna have to make that work, eh? Personally, I think it would look cooler to have the orange, but we could do that, I guess. We'll leave it for now. Alright, cool. So, last thing. We just have this NHL stats, and so I kind of already messed around with this a little bit before I started the video, but it's Inter, and we just made it black italic, just messed around with the spacing a little bit. So we're just going to bring that in. I guess I completely moved our NHL logo out of there. Bring a new one out, plop it in. Alright, that looks pretty good. Grab those together, auto layout, and then our fancy homemade face-off dots. I'm going to make these just a little thicker. I just think they look a little thin. Bring them in here. And we're going to hit K. We learned that at the start of this video. Bring it in here. Cool. Whoop. That looks pretty good. Still think these look a little thin. Make them maybe two. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. And we want to make that over there. Okay, hit auto layout on that, hit auto layout on this. Then we want to select them all. Auto layout. And then auto layout again. That'll be our exterior container. So you see we have an interior container, and now we have that exterior one. So this is for our full width, and then we can control the interior one through that. And I want to make this full width, and then auto. And the reason we're doing that is that we can control our spacing with our padding. So we're going to do that. And I'm not sure why this isn't completely lining up. It's just probably our font, but there we go. That's close enough, right? And then we want to just give it a little bit of vertical padding, or top and bottom, so that it looks pretty good, right? Okay, so that's that component. We're gonna cut it and paste it in. Boom. And then the last thing we need to do is this mesh pattern. You can see it's at the top and the bottom. So we're going to try and extract that pattern from in here. Okay, let's bring that in, center it, send it to the back, and then align it to the bottom, and then bring this down to like 10 or even 5. And then duplicate it and align that to the top. Wow. And there you go. 3 stars of the week. Probably name this like Instagram post. All right, so that's pretty much the whole thing. We figured it out. Obviously, it wasn't the smoothest process in the world, but we hacked our way through it, if you want to call it hack. And I'd say that's pretty cool. Which one did we do, and which one was the original? It's pretty hard to tell, honestly. I think it looks good. We did a good job. Cool. So if you like that video, let me know in the comments. If you know how to do things a different way, or you know a better way of doing this, let me know. I'm always up to hear new things, learn new things, hear what I'm doing wrong, what I can improve. So let me know in the comments. I mean, I think it looks pretty good. Obviously, like subtle colors and that type of stuff aren't completely identical, but the technique's there. You can do this in Figma. It was fun. I like doing this. If you want to see other stuff designed, let me know. Leave a link in the comments, websites, apps, you name it, and we can try and figure it out. Use auto layout, Figma. It's all good. Thanks for watching. See you next time.